Good evening and welcome to the Government News Brief for Monday, May 30th, 2016. In the news, Leguan to finally have a functioning X-ray department, chess to be taught in hinterland schools, and health officials to face possible sanctions for complacency. I'm Paul McAdam. Stay tuned for the details. This is the Government News Brief. Here now are the details. Coalition government restates it is not responsible for the collapse of the Venezuelan rice market. Details in this report.
Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu says the economic challenges faced by the rice farmers existed before the current administration took office.
The Guyanese people are fed a scenario that the Venezuela deal collapsed or failed when we got into the government. But so the truth of the matter is that the former Minister of Agriculture, Dr. Ramsamy, went to Caracas, was informed that that Venezuela was no longer going to supply us fuel and that they were no longer going to receive our rice. And instead of returning to Guyana, he left for the United States.
The Prime Minister says the hardships were created by the former government.
Petro-Caribe Fund. It is not that we were shipping rice to Venezuela. The money was coming here and it was placed in a fund, the Petro-Caribe Fund, and still the money had never reached the farmers. So why the farmers accumulated loans from the bank? It is because they could not service the loans.
According to Finance Minister Winston Jordan, in his maiden budget presentation, the Petro-Caribe Fund had a balance of $0.8 million, while the debt to farmers were in excess of $17 million.
The millers in Guyana have developed a reputation of failing to pay rice farmers on time. Due to the millers' constant failure to pay rice farmers over the years, the amount owed to them have now accumulated to some $6 billion, which they are now unable to settle because of the outstanding amounts owed to them by the government. The government did not pay the millers, so the millers could not pay the farmers. It was the ripple effect of cunning as well as denying the farmers what was due to them. The problem of millers owing the farmers would have been non-existent, Mr. Beni Sankar is saying, if the monies that were made available to Guyana, about $3 billion by the European Union for the rice industry, was put in a revolving fund as in Suriname rather than in the consolidated fund.
Since taking office, the APNU plus AFC coalition government has been faced with several issues affecting rice farmers. The government has so far doled out in excess of $1 billion to aid the industry. For this Government News Brief, Shivani Rampersad reporting.
Plans are on the way to implement chess in the hinterland regions, widening the sporting options available. Here is that report.
Minister within the Ministry of Indigenous Peoples Affairs, Valerie Garrido Lowe, believes that the introduction of chess will help students' analytical skills. This will in turn aid students to obtain better grades in mathematics. A recent study conducted in the United States of America revealed that chess improves cognitive abilities, rational thinking, and reasoning of even the least promising children.
I would like to see that develop, and I think this will help our indigenous people so much.
That's true.
To think things through.
That's right.
You know? So I feel this as something very necessary, and I will make sure that it happens.
Chess is a two-player strategy board game played on a checkered game board with 64 squares. The game has long been recognized as a builder of strong intellects since it was invented in the Middle East thousands of years ago. Minister Lowe believes that playing chess can also benefit hinterland youth in other areas. For 2016, $4 billion has been budgeted in the support of the Plan of Action for the Hinterland Development. In excess of $280 million has been allocated to promote economic prosperity, tourism development, and preserving cultural identity. With this Government News Brief, I am Glendon Greenwich.
Leguan is expected to have a functioning X-ray department before the end of the year. 5 years after equipment was sourced.
Public Health Minister Dr. George Norton has charged regional officials to have the X-ray department at the Legwan Cottage Hospital functioning as soon as possible. Dr. Norton says it is unacceptable that the department remains non-functional 5 years after receiving an X-ray machine.
I can't understand why would such a machine be allowed to just lay up in the corner and then, I don't think there was a shortage of cash. There wasn't a shortage of labor or anything like that. It's just, I think, the will to get it done.
When the minister visited the hospital over the weekend, the X-ray machine was still in its crate in which it came. Regional officials who accompanied the minister on the visit were unable to say exactly when it will become functional, since they are still to determine if the machine works and what other parts are needed. Meanwhile, the building itself has to undergo extensive modifications before it can serve as intended. Principal radiographer Ms. Donna Bowman described some of the works needed.
In terms of lead line in the door, in terms of ensuring that the walls are correct measure of thickness for radiation protection. And then we have to build a barrier, protective barrier to place around the control panel of the X-ray machine.
Bowman added that the building was constructed without her input, and this makes modifications costly and difficult. The building was constructed under the previous administration to function as the X-ray department and a laboratory. The present administration has allocated $5 million to modify the building. Adjustments are expected to be completed by the end of June. Dr. Norton took his officers to task for failing to ensure the functionality of the department sooner. He stressed that every effort will be made to have the facility functioning as intended. For the Government News Brief, I'm Tiffany Rogers.
Regional health officials will be held accountable for failures to sufficiently deliver on requests from regional health facilities. Details in this report.
Regional health officials have become complacent and are taking things for granted. This assessment was made by Public Health Minister Dr. George Norton after a recent visit to the Legwan and Wakenham Cottage hospitals. It was found that there are many pending requests at the regional level for supplies from the Essequibo River Islands and other health facilities. Regional officials should be made to answer for these delays, Dr. Norton notes.
Nobody seems to be concerned that at the level of the region, things were requested and not delivered. As Minister, I hope to work closer with the Minister of Communities, who to a large extent is responsible for the health systems in the region.
The Ministry of Public Health has overhauled its procurement process to minimize delays in the delivery of supplies, among other things. However, Dr. Norton believes that many regional officials are still not sufficiently informed about the drugs and medical supply procurement process, or are deliberately not following the process.
While there might have been a change in government, personnel still remain in their exact location where they were before, and if that was a system that existed before, the change might not necessarily be as fast as it's convenient to us.
The minister is confident that the discrepancies in the health sector will be rectified in the near future.
I hope, and this is stretching it, that by the end of the year that we would be where we want to be in terms of resource, personnel, as well as the supply of pharmaceuticals and medical supply, as well as equipment, and generally being able to provide a higher quality of health service.
A fitness gym opens in Madia as part of the Golden Jubilee celebrations. Details in this report.
The Dalous family in Patara, Supernana Region 8 opened a fitness gym as part of the Jubilee celebrations. Employee Abiolo Woodford highlights some of the benefits that the gym will offer.
Having a gym is not only to maintain our gains weight, it has a lot more than that. Flexibility and endurance is very important to our body. And in order to maintain a healthy body, we should exercise at least 15 to 30 minutes a day.
The Minister of Communities, Ronald Bolkan, says that he is happy with the initiative that the Dalous families took. He says with healthier residents, the amount of money central government would have to invest in the health sector would be reduced.
It is my belief that the presence of a facility such as this and the bold investment that has been made by the promoter, the Deluse family, will over time help to reduce the investment that central government will have to make in our hospitals and our health facilities, because a healthy lifestyle will reduce the amount of illnesses, and by freeing up those scarce resources, instead of it being directed towards health, then it can be spent in other areas. Education.
Minister Bolkan says that education has been in the forefront of government's agenda since it took office. According to the minister, being able to invest more in education is needed as it is the surest way for upward mobility. Isaiah Braffett for the Government News Brief.
That concludes today's edition of the Government News Brief. The details of these and other stories can be found on Genius website. We encourage you to subscribe to our website and YouTube channel. You can also like and follow us on Facebook to be updated as the news unfolds. Do join us again tomorrow for another edition of the Government News Brief. Thank you for watching.